He whispers fear, he wields the sword, but he cannot silence the living word. Every drop of blood becomes a seed, every broken heart cries out a creed. The gates of hell will not prevail, God's truth will stand, it will never fail. From martyrs to saints, their crowns are
Finding the right words to use for this song. I have you in mind, so it won't take so long. Love is not afraid you, but you're here, and so I love you.
Hello and welcome back to Hallow. My name is Jeff Cavins, and each Saturday this Lent, I'll be your host as we interview and pray with some of the most interesting people in the church. Today, it's my honor to be joined by Mother Olga. Mother Olga is the founder and mother servant of the Daughters of Mary of Nazareth. Originally from Iraq, she lived through 4 wars and worked with Christians and Muslims to serve the needy. Now based in the United States, Mother Olga continues her ministry to the poor with extraordinary faith and courage. Her story? It's unlike anything you've heard before, and I can't wait for you to hear it. Let's go meet Mother Olga. Mother Olga, we're here to talk about the work that God has done in your life, and truly He's done an amazing work. You started an order, and that's not something that everybody does. You know, starting an order takes a lot of work. Bring me back to the beginning of this whole adventure of how you started an order.
You know, I came to this country almost 24 years ago. I was sent here for school. I'd never imagined myself to stay here. I was sharing with our friends from Hallow who are visiting us this week for this recording how early on when I didn't speak any English, like I started level A, you know, A, B, C, good morning, how are you? I used to cry, you know, like how I would ever learn this language. Like, you know, I begged, you know, that I would go back because it was very, very hard. The language, the culture. I came here as a growing up woman, and you travel to Middle East a lot, and you know the culture there. So it was just very, very challenging time for me early on. So that in itself was very difficult. And then when I became Catholic and I was invited by Cardinal Sean to discern the possibility of starting a religious order here, I immediately said no, because I was, you know, afraid naturally. How can this be? You know, like somebody like me from Middle East and, you know, starting an order in America. And, you know, I had just human fears, like I can never do this, you know. And I never knew there is no like guideline how to start an order, so to speak. You know, like people who start business, they might go to business school or find a business counsel, somebody to guide them. So it took me really 4 years, much longer discernment. And it wasn't until I made a pilgrimage. I was telling you earlier, I love going on pilgrimages. I took 8 days silent retreat at Our Lady of Guadalupe. And that's where really Our Lady formed my heart for this mission. So when I came back and gave my answer to Cardinal Jean after 4 years of discernment, even like the immediate question was, what do you want to name the order? And as you know, a lot of orders, they begin with Sisters of St. Joseph, Sisters of Life, Franciscan Sisters. So because for me it was Mother Mary who formed my heart for this mission, I couldn't imagine myself be Sister of Mary. I want always to be her daughter.
Well, every single order has, I guess, what we call a charism. You know, some kind of gifting, some kind of vision for that particular order. What did you land on? How did you come up with a particular charism? What was going to be your focus?
So first and foremost, I came to this country right at the beginning of the scandal. As you know, I have lived in Boston for all these 24 years. I've been in this country. And the Archdiocese of Boston had the largest number of, sexual abuse scandal than any other diocese. And that's where the news broke and it became a big issue, and it was a lot of pain in the church at that time. People were angry, and rightly so, and upset, or many chose to leave the church. And I remember telling Cardinal Sean, like, what we can choose a charism that if people don't want to come to the church, how we can bring the church to them. And I was very familiar with St. Charles de Foucault and the life of Nazareth. And I felt like, wasn't that amazing that you are a biblical scholar, you know this, for almost 30 years, Jesus lived hidden life in Nazareth. Nobody knew who he was, yet I do believe he sanctified the people of Nazareth by just being present. So that's when I began to pray with the spirituality of St. Charles de Foucault and the life of Nazareth, how we can create little Nazareth wherever we go and bring the presence of Christ. And hopefully when people fell in love with him again, then they're gonna come to him again into his church. It's almost like if you know the bridegroom and you go to the wedding, even if you didn't know the bride, but you go to the wedding because you know the bridegroom.
Right.
So my hope was that with the ministries of our community, how we can encounter people for them to really get to love the bridegroom again and then love his bride through him. I can share a very quick story. One of the things we do in Boston, we serve at 8 nursing homes, and none of them are Catholics. And Boston has a large Irish and Italian people, so we have a lot of elderly Catholics in nursing home. One woman that our sisters, and we visit them all year long, every week. We bring communion to about 400 residents, combine all the 8 nursing homes. And I remember one day we heard one of the women that we were visiting her for 10 years and bringing her communion every Sunday. When we heard she passed away, we try, if they live locally, we go to the wake or funeral. So about 4 sisters from our community went to the wake and then went to the funeral. And as they were kneeling in front of her casket and praying, they heard one of the daughters saying, "Who are these nuns and how they know our family?" So when the sisters were shaking hands with the family and they told them they met their mother through nursing home, and for 10 years their mother received communion every Sunday, they were shocked because their younger daughter of this family said, "When I was finishing high school, the scandal began in the church and we all left the church. And I wanted to go to a Catholic college, but my mom said, 'None of you will ever go to Catholic school again.'"
Wow.
And she said, "And here I am standing at the coffin of my mom, watching 4 nuns praying for her, because for 10 years my mom has been receiving communion." It was just really profound.
That's beautiful.
And she said, "I want this image to be like imprinted in my memory." That my mom, the last 10 years of her life, came back to the church and she received communion regularly.
When God calls someone to start something, it can be a little bit scary. And I'm curious, in your life, you've started in Boston, you're in Indiana now. What are some of the hurdles or some of the obstacles that you faced that most likely other people could face them too in starting up something?
I think one of the things I've seen often, even when I travel and speak, now I do it less than I used to do it in the past. The first thing they ask me when they hear we are a new community, the first question is, "How many of you are and what do you do?" So we focus on
Numbers.
We live in a time like the value of the person or the worth of the person is by how many followers you have on social media.
I know.
You know, what numbers of people who likes or dislikes. Or So then when young women are entering a community like our community, who is so simple and focused on the life of Nazareth and the hiddenness of Nazareth, you know, it's not an easy, vocation. It's needed, it's important, because we go to places that you don't see them on the stage.
Right.
We go to places you don't see them on social media. Like you go and sit with a child in a hospital who's throwing up after chemo. You go to a home of little children where 35 years old mom is dying from cancer. Like, we go to all these places that, again, you don't see them on social media, you don't see them on the stage. The other day, somebody asked me, what is like one ministry that has always stayed with you? Obviously, there are many stories. You and I were talking earlier how important it is to recall people's stories. But this particular story, I often tell people we each has 4 birthdays. And the other day I was sharing this with 2 boys who their mama went to heaven a week ago. So the dad was teasing them and he said, oh, now you know every person has 4 birthdays. You would say, why mom and dad never gave us that many gifts? The point was, when I was with this another young mother who was finishing his courageous battle with cancer, her little girl didn't want to go to hospice to see mommy. She was so thin and bald and just exhausted from fighting this disease. So I shared it with her how we each has 4 birthdays with this little girl. And I said, the first birthday, when a person is born in the womb, they came from heaven into mommy's belly. The second birthday, when the child is born outside the womb. So first that child was a child of God, then becomes child of the parents. And then the third birthday, when the child is baptized in the womb of the church through the baptismal font. And the fourth birthday, when the child becomes a child of heaven and return back home to God the Father. So when I shared this with this little girl who mommy was about to go to heaven, she was so quiet, and her aunts kept saying she doesn't want to go to hospice. And so then I asked her, I said, whenever you have birthday, what mommy does at home? She said, her and I, we go and color our nails, we decorate the house, we bring cake and food. And I said, you know, mommy is preparing for her 4th birthday. Do you want to help her color her fingernail? And she did like this. So I said, well, I'm going to be with mommy. If you change your mind, just call auntie and she can bring you to me. So I went there. I was with the mom by myself. And half an hour later, I got a phone call from the aunt. She said, Mother, are you still with her? I said, yes. She said, you won't believe it. My niece said, Auntie, can you take me to CVS? She said, we went to CVS. And she ran down the aisle where they have the colors for fingernails. And she said, I think mommy's favorite color is green. So she said, can you take me to Mother Olga if she's still with mommy? She came to the hospital where mom was on hospice. She jumped in the bed, and her and I, we colored her mommy's fingernail with green. She gave her one last kiss, and mommy was still like conscious, so she did see that her daughter colored her fingernail. She gave her a kiss, and then she left with her auntie. That night, mommy went to be with Jesus, ready for her heavenly birthday, when her daughter prepared her to celebrate her heavenly birthday. These are some of the things have changed me, has shaped me, things that I will never forget.
That's an amazing story. It's those kinds of stories that I think really, they really inspire people, and people want to step up to that, and they want their life to be more about that than all of the trivial things.
Without him, I'm nothing. You know, if it's not with the prayer life, with spiritual life, with saints, you know, Mother Teresa used to say, we are not social workers. We do what we do because we do it with Jesus and for Jesus. So some of the challenges for me, again, is the current culture. You know, how can I help people to understand? It's not, I might not see all our convents fill in my own lifetime, but I pray that we will be faithful to whatever number God wills for us to be or to have. Again, I quote a lot Mother Teresa because she's one of my spiritual heroes, and I feel her closeness to me often. You know, she always used to say, we didn't come to be successful, but we came to be faithful.
Well, I've heard a couple people, more than a couple, kind of compare you to Mother Teresa. And I know those are big shoes or big sandals to walk in. But how has she influenced your life? Because I sense that too, that you have a bit of a different charism, but the same spirit. How has she influenced you?
You know, in a way, not because I'm not worthy to be, you know, anywhere near her footsteps, but I don't think we should be surprised because it's the same Holy Spirit, the same God who influenced her life is influencing my life. And also I feel whenever people mention that to me, I feel very grateful, not because I want to be named after her or to be compared to her, but I feel that means she's close to me.
Yeah.
That she's praying for me. And, you know, in a way also she inspires me. She was not afraid of the changes in the culture. She stayed firm and faithful to her charism. I'm very close to missionaries of charity. And I'm very humble. Sometimes they tell me, like, Mother, when you come and visit us, we feel Mother is visiting us. And it's a mystery to me. You know how St. Padre Pio used to say, my life is a mystery to me. And one of those mysteries for me is Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
Because I never met her in person.
I didn't either.
But I feel her.
Yeah.
You know, I feel her presence. I feel her prayers. I feel her closeness. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, no, I know what you mean. You know, one of the things I think is important for Catholics is to have that relationship with the saints. And a wise priest once told me, he said, when it comes to the saints, don't go broad and shallow. In other words, you know, a little trivia about 1,000 of them. Yeah. He said, go narrow and deep.
Amen. And, you know, somebody was asking me the other day, what are some of people who influence you? Like,
yeah, I'm curious, who has influenced you?
You know, just like as you said beautifully about Mother Teresa, how she found Jesus in those faces. For me, working with children with cancer, they inspire me every day. I mean, what those kids go through from, I've seen even as young as 1.5 years battling cancer, before even learning how to walk, how to play. But seeing those children, a year after year, they go from surgery to surgery, from chemo to radiation. They inspire me.
Is there one that stands out?
Maybe people who follow him on social media. I have a little friend called, people call him Mighty Quinn, but I call him Quinny. He's my Quinny. I have known him for 5 years. And this little boy, before he was even 3, he has battled cancer. And I go with him to a lot of appointments when I'm in town. I go with him to every scan, every MRI. And, you know, I'm short. So sometimes, you know, when they give him the hospital gown, I ask them if they have one of my size. So we both wear the Tiger's hospital gown, which is made for children. And then I go with him literally into the MRI room. And, you know, I pick movies for him that he likes to watch during, because sometimes MRI can take 1.5 hours in his case, because they do the brain MRI, the scan MRI. Yet I have never heard this boy complain. Never. He loves Jesus so much. He got permission from Cardinal Sean before he was 5 to receive his first communion, because back then we didn't think he would survive. But he always says he survived because of Jesus. Even last year when we were having a nativity pageant with the children, the sick children, so I got him an outfit to be a star. And the sisters were teasing him. They said, Quinn, isn't that exciting? You're going to be a star. And he did like this to the sister. He said, no, I am not the star. The sister said, but Mother got you the outfit to be a star. He said, don't you know Jesus is the star?
Out of the mouth of babes.
Babes, yes, truly. So I'm always inspired, whether those who survive or those who end up going to the Lord.
Mother, what would you tell people at this point what would you tell them? What tips would you give them to have a not successful, like the world thinks, but a fruitful Lent?
I think, especially with the theme of this particular challenge, a few months ago, I saw Alex, one of the founders of Hallow, in person, and the conversation came about how do I do with everything, and all the suffering that I see every day, and all the things that I see every day. I said to him, I have a simple prayer that I pray every morning and every time I go out on ministry. Lord, empty me, fill me, and use me. I want to be emptied from my own plan, how I'm going to speak at this conference, or how I'm going to speak to this child that's suffering. I want to be empty from anything that I know or imagine or expect, and I want him to fill me and then use me through what he fills me. So Lent is a challenge because it's that invitation, how we can all seek that emptiness. Because even in our spiritual lives, sometimes we fill ourselves with, thinking, I need to read that many books, or I need to fast this much, or I need to, but to ask even the Lord, like, empty me, fill me, and use me. How you want me to live this Lent. And hopefully please God, not just this Lent, but throughout my life. Mm-hmm. And especially this message of really allowing ourselves to be empty. The complete abandonment and surrender is a big challenge. And Lent invites us to look deep of what is inside, and to ask God to empty that space, mm-hmm. empty that memory, empty that feeling, and fill me with what he wants, and then use me with what he fills me with. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So you're speaking about a transformation, a transformation that's going to take place in these 40 days during Lent. Empty me, fill me, and use me.
So my message really for people who are going to participate in this challenge, not to be afraid. Like, look at me, look at my life. Like, the Lord has made of me everything that I am not. He has taken me to places I've never imagined. He has changed me, shaped me, formed me in a way I would have never imagined, even if I had read thousands of books. Even Saint Mother Teresa used to say, I'm just a pencil in his hand who is writing a love story for you. Saint André Bessette, he used to say, I'm just that simple brush for the last touches of a painter. God is the painter. God is writing the stories for you, for me, for other people. But how we can really surrender and allow ourselves to be empty. Because no matter what I fill myself with, it will never come ever, ever close to what God can fill me with.
Yeah, he ultimately wants to fill us with himself.
Amen. I don't want to be filled for myself, Jeff, because I know the goodness of God and I know his unconditional mercy. I'm a sinner, I'm a broken person, and I would have not be where I am today without his mercy, without his forgiveness, without his goodness to me. So when I am filled with him, I want everybody to have him the way that he has filled me.
I got to tell you, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I'm sure you've heard it from other people before, but when I know when I'm around someone who is doing the will of the Lord and a great work for the Lord, and you certainly are, and the gauge I look at is, I want to be like you. Love you.
Thank you. God bless you. I love you too.
Thanks for joining us today. What a powerful conversation with Mother Olga. Mother, thank you for sharing your heart, your witness, and your extraordinary story with us. Please keep Mother Olga, the daughters of Mary of Nazareth, and all those they serve in your prayers. Come back again next week as we dive into another testimony of what God is doing in the world today. You won't want to miss it. Until next time, may God's peace be with you.